The Milgram Obedience Study. The Milgram Obedience Study, named after its creator Stanley Milgram, was a psychological experiment that took place in 1961. Milgram was influenced by the recent trial of Adolf Eichmann, one of the architects of the Holocaust, and wondered aloud, could it be that Eichmann and his million accomplices in the Holocaust were just following orders? Could we call them all accomplices? Furthermore, he wanted to determine if Germans were more obedient to authority figures, and if those in positions of perceived power could influence people to do unreasonable things. Procedure. Milgram selected participants for his experiment by newspaper advertising for male participants to take part in a study of learning at Yale University. The procedure was that the participant was paired with another person, and they drew lots to find out who would be the learner and who would be the teacher. The draw was fixed so that the participant was always the learner, and the learner was one of Milgram's confederates, pretending to be a real participant. The learner was taken into a room and had electrodes attached to his arms, and the teacher and researcher went into a room next door that contained an electric shock generator and a row of switches marked from 15 volts, which is light shock, to 375 volts, danger, severe shock, and to 450 volts, which is just XXX. However, the learner was not actually a volunteer, but someone who was planted in the experiment. He was essentially an actor. The learner was strapped to a chair with electrodes. After he has learned a list of word pairs given to him to learn, the teacher tests him by naming a word and asking the learner to recall its partner pair from a list of 4 possible choices. Every time the learner answered with an incorrect pairing, he would receive an electrical shock. Each time he answered incorrectly, he was given a more severe shock. The experiment found that 65% of the participants would continue to the highest voltage, even after audible protest and sounds of duress from the learner, and even after the point of no response. When the teacher felt distress or hesitated to administer the shock, the experimenter in the back of the room would tell the teacher to continue, citing the urgency of the results. All of the teachers went up to 300 volts. Results. Milgram concluded that ordinary people are more likely to follow unreasonable orders if they are directed to by a figure with perceived authority, up to the point of killing another person. In addition, the experiment was widely criticized for its unethical elements, including the deception, psychological harm to the participants, and the perceived inability to withdraw from the experiment because of the experimenter's prods to continue the experiment. Please respond to the post-presentation Google form.